Occasionally, you encounter a place so striking it feels unreal. Too vivid, too perfect, as if your mind has slipped into a dream without warning. The kind of beauty that makes you pause and question whether what you're seeing can truly exist. But this is El Salvador, where the extraordinary is woven into the land itself. Here, the impossible doesn't belong to dreams. You are fully awake. Welcome to El Espíritu de la Montaña. Thank you to those who offered such gracious support. Victor, Jose, Will, Menina, Pelota. You are part of what makes this journey possible. Arriving at El Espíritu de la Montaña is not for the weak of spirit or for the delicate of suspension. This place sits on a mountain at the very edge of the country, and getting here is a character-building experience. As I've said many times, El Salvador's main roads, fantastic, calm, peaceful, the kind of roads that make you turn up the music, relax your shoulders, and feel like you've made excellent life choices. Then, you turn off the main road. The side roads are where dreams go to be tested. Every time I think, this is it. This is officially the worst road I've ever driven on. Another one appears like, hold my beer. And yet, here I am, still going, still committed. Because despite the emotional damage and whatever my car is feeling right now, this country is absolutely worth it. Just when I'm feeling confident, like maybe I've conquered it, reality steps in. Because everyone has a breaking point. People have one. Vehicles absolutely have one. Somewhere on this mountain, my SUV politely, but firmly decided it needed a moment. I'm feeling very defeated, but I'm doing what's right for me. My car gave me several indicators that it just was not going to make it up this mountain. So I went back to the entrance, and the ticket guy, he called the camioneta, which is supposed to be coming to pick me up. I was going to give it another try, and then ultimately just decided against it because I don't want to be stranded out here in the middle of nowhere. My rescue did not arrive in the form of a heroic off-road camioneta with dramatic music playing in the background. No, it came as a perfectly ordinary, no-nonsense truck. Casual, confident, and completely unbothered by the mountain that just emotionally ruined me. Enter Luis. Luis speaks excellent English. which is ideal because I immediately needed reassurance, therapy, and possibly a support group. He calmly explained that this kind of thing happens all the time, and that the guys who work on the mountain drive up and down this road multiple times a day. Multiple times a day. Sir, I have barely survived once. Luis is, without exaggeration, one of the kindest humans I have encountered on this trip. Warm, reassuring, completely unfazed. Meanwhile, I am in the passenger seat discovering that the road feels significantly worse when you're not the one driving. Every bump lands directly in my soul. It's so rough, I'm starting to get sore. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. At this point, I'm quietly questioning everything. My choices, my ambitions, whether this is, in fact, worth it. And then, I see it. The first glimpse of what's waiting at the top. And suddenly, I understand why everyone keeps going. Yeah, that's beautiful.
We can see from this point we can see El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua at the bottom.
Oh, God.
3 countries at the time.
Okay, maybe it's worth it.
Yeah.
The good news is I've made it to the top. Here's what happened. I went through the gate to start my way up the mountain, and the gate ticket person, I don't know exactly what he was because I didn't actually get a ticket, but anyway, he charged me $5 just to open up the gate. And then I start going up the mountain and I'm doing fine. And then I get to a curve. The camioneta, the shared wagon that some people take if they do the camping to bring up all their stuff, was coming down the mountain at the same time that I was trying to go up at that curve. And when my car hit it, it just... I tried to get out of the way so that the camioneta could go by, and just that, my car wouldn't go any further after that. So I was burning rubber. There was all kinds of, it wasn't smoke, but I guess it was just like dirt, dust. I was being kicked up. The smell was horrible. And I tried for several minutes and I just couldn't get it to go anywhere. So I went back down the mountain and spoke to the same person that charged me the $5 just to get through the gate. He only spoke Spanish. Everybody in that area only spoke Spanish. And of course, like, I'm not upset about that. Like, I'm in their country, I should speak their language better. But anyway, when I conveyed to him that my car wasn't going to make it, he called whoever works here, and that gentleman, I think his name was Luis, he came and got me from the entrance where the gate is. I parked my car in a nice lady's driveway. Her whole family was laughing, but they were very, very kind, at least. So I hope all my stuff is still there. They seem like good people. I'm a little bit nervous because I wish I had grabbed my passport just in case my things aren't there when I get back. So that makes me nervous. But so I made it to the top. It is a god-awful journey, even in a 4x4 truck. It's not something
that I would recommend unless you really, really want to do this. And the views are spectacular, but my God, this is awful trying to get here. It costs $18. The $10 is just to get up the mountain in the vehicle, the shared vehicle with the guy that came to get me. And then $8 once you get here. So I don't know what the deal was with the guy at the gate. That was a separate charge just to basically get access to a terrible, terrible road. So $18, and then I'm running out of cash. I wish I had gone to an ATM, which I would have done if I would have had the foresight to know that all this craziness would have happened. But fortunately, they take credit cards, but they have a $20 minimum to use a credit card. So then I got snacks, all kinds of snacks, Pringles, Oreos, accidentally vegan, orange juice, so I could hit that $20 mark. And now I'm here. I'll have to get back to you about whether or not it's worth it. Yes, it's gorgeous, but who knows at this point? I need to be still and calm down.
My head above the water. Finally I can breathe again. Lost in the waves I wander, but in your eyes I see no pain. You're a holiday, a break from the rain. Sipping your sunshine, come take me away. In the water, finally I can breathe again. You're a dream, 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 dream. Standing in your presence, carry me away, honey. A dream, 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 dream. Make me lose my senses, carry me away, away. A dream, dream, dream. Come take me away. I see a new horizon. My 2 feet steady on the ground. With you I found my reason. Yeah, to keep chasing what we found. You're a holiday, a break from the rain. Sipping your sunshine, come take me away. New horizon. Finally I can see again. You're a dream, 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 dream. Standing in your presence, carry me away, honey. A dream, 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 dream. Make me lose my senses, carry me away, away. Dream, dream, dream. Come take me away. You're a dream, dream, dream. Standing in your presence, carry me away, honey. A dream, 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 dream. Make me lose my senses, carry me away, away. A dream, dream, dream. Come take me away. My head above the water. Finally I can breathe again.
There isn't much to do on the mountain, and that is precisely the point. Up here, activity gives way to stillness, and the invitation is simple. Slow down and take in the view. At base camp, there's a small restaurant, and the ticket office doubles as a place to pick up snacks. Modest comforts in an otherwise pared-back setting. Signs of what's to come are already visible. A conference room is under construction, and cabins are being built along the slopes. An upgrade I wholeheartedly support, because as stunning as the scenery is, camping in a tent has never been part of my personal fantasy. From this height, the El Salvador sun softens. The heat loosens its grip. What remains is calm, broken only by birdsong and the steady hush of wind moving through the trees. It's peaceful in a way that feels intentional, as if the mountain itself is asking you to rest, listen, and simply be. A short walk from base camp leads to a museum shaped like a temple. Quiet, understated, and deeply intentional. I joined a Spanish language tour, only to discover that the other visitors were also from the United States and generously translated along the way, creating an unexpected moment of shared curiosity and connection. This museum, that requires you to remove your shoes to enter, is dedicated to honoring the Linka people and their profound relationship with this land. Representing them is important to me, especially after my failed attempt to reach Cuelepa, because the Linka are among El Salvador's most overlooked indigenous groups. Much of that has to do with geography. Today, far more Linka descendants live in Honduras than in El Salvador. Yet, historically, this southern region of the country was entirely Linka territory. Revered as the people of the jaguar, the Linka belonged to an ancient civilization distinct from both the Pipiu and the Maya. They were the first indigenous people in what is now El Salvador to encounter the Spanish conquistadors, meeting them along the Gulf of Fonseca, the same luminous body of water this mountain overlooks, where the borders of El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua converge in the distance. Though their languages are now fading into memory, the Linka once spoke tongues uniquely their own, rich, resonant, and sacred. Their rituals, beliefs, and cosmology formed a cultural world shaped by earth and sky, by survival and ceremony, and by the enduring spirit of the jaguar woman that still prowls their stories and symbols. For a people so enigmatic and underrepresented, this museum is more than an exhibit. It is a rare portal, and that alone makes the stop not just worthwhile, but essential. On the walk to and from the museum, you'll pass a small house where a kind man sells furniture made entirely from tires. Yes, tires. Chairs, tables, things you didn't know needed to be tires. All tires. There's quite a bit of it scattered around base camp, and truth be told, it's a delightful little detour. Very creative, very resourceful, very much not coming home with me. As much as I admire it, none of it fits in my suitcase, my vehicle, or on the plane. This is where I said goodbye to my lovely tourmates. Back at base camp, a tower above the restaurant invites you upward, offering an even higher vantage over the Gulf of Fonseca and the quiet geometry of the camp below. From here, the world feels impossibly vast and impossibly beautiful, so much so that it borders on the unreal. I catch myself pausing, pinching my arm, just to confirm that this isn't a dream, And yet, it is real. I am awake. I am here. I am living something I once only imagined. With the view still lingering in my mind, it feels like the perfect moment to descend. Breathe it all in once more and see what the restaurant has to offer.
Would you visit El Espíritu de la Montaña? Is it worth the drive? Let me know in the comments. While you're at it, please click the like button since you've made it this far in the video. It helps more than you know.
Just take a look at yourself. Can't even be your own friend, 'cause you're way too stuck in your head. How do you think it's gonna end? Nothing that they could do, nothing that they could say, nothing that they could do is take all the pain away. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it don't. Sometimes you win some and sometimes you won't. But we could be everything, everything, anything that we see we could be. We could be everything that we want. We could be everything, everything, anything that we see we could be. We could be anything that we want. You think if they said it, then they must mean it. So you should feel it, somehow you think that you need it. Others' opinions, to know how you feeling, to know if you're losing or winning, left behind or within it. If you're sinking or swimming, existing or living. Nothing that they could do, nothing that they could say, nothing that they could do to take all the pain away.
The menu is very meat heavy. There's a lot of lamb, chicken, pork, and fish. But the side items are French fries, vegetables, and bread that I can have, and fortunately the cook was willing to make them just for me.
We could be anything that we want. But we could be everything, everything, anything that we see we could be. We could be everything that we want. We could be everything, everything, anything that we see we could be. We could be anything that we want.
As always, thank you to Timeless Stories of El Salvador for the inspiration.
Long before the Spanish ever set foot in this land that would one day become known as El Salvador, this place was ruled by the Linka.
When they whispered in the tongue of the gods and walked in harmony with the spirits of the mountains and rivers, a storm came unlike any the people had ever known. Night after night, bolts of lightning tore across the sky, striking down into the heart of the valley. Flames leapt from fields of maize, beans, and squash, the sacred crops of survival. The rains flooded the lowlands. The wind howled like mourning spirits. And the sun, it vanished, hidden behind an endless shroud of storm-dark sky. The people feared hunger, feared chaos. The elders whispered of omens, of divine punishment. People gathered and argued beneath thatched roofs, their eyes clouded with dread. no one could remember a time without the sun. One night, when the storm beat hardest, and even the bravest dogs hid under trees, the High Chief, Banakit, left the warmth of his home. His wife, Teuna, and daughter, Ishil, watched him vanish into the storm, their hearts tight with fear and hope. Clad in his jaguar cloak and a staff carved with the faces of his ancestors, he alone climbed the sacred mountain overlooking the sea. At the summit, lightning danced in rings around him. Thunder cracked open the night. There, soaked in rain and surrounded by the fury of the heavens, he dropped to his knees.
He cried out to the gods, begging from his heart, "Take his life, but spare his people." He asked for a path to peace.
As the final word left his lips, a silence fell. The wind stopped. The rain halted mid-drop. A bolt of lightning, brighter than any before, struck, and from its blinding light, she appeared. A woman, tall and radiant, descended from the heavens. Her skin glowed like moonlit stone. Her long hair flowed like a silver river. Her eyes flashed like stormlight. She was wrapped in white light, and yet she cast no shadow. She was lightning personified. The chief's heart trembled with awe and fear. And then, as swiftly as she had come, lightning struck again, and she was gone, carried back into the clouds as though she had never been. The chief collapsed from sheer exhaustion. What he saw would change him forever. As he slept, the storm ended. The skies cleared. The sun shone. The chief awoke and returned home to a village thankful for his bravery. For 7 days, peace reigned. But the chief could not rest. His thoughts clung to the image of the glowing woman. He had to know if he dreamt her or if she was real. So, on the 7th night, he returned to the mountain, not to plead for safety, but to pray for her return. Lightning answered. She appeared once more, calm, luminous, and ethereal. This time, she spoke.
Her voice was soft, like wind through saber trees. The sound was as beautiful as her. She spoke in the language of the Linka, though no tongue had ever taught her.
You asked the storm to cease, offering your life in exchange for peace. I stopped it. You asked for my return. I have come. Now I ask you, may I stay in your home for just one night as I find my way through this world? The chief, stunned, nodded in agreement. He offered her his treasured jaguar cloak. She followed him down the mountain to his home. His wife and daughter greeted her with reverence. They prepared food for her: roasted squash, tamales wrapped in banana leaves, maize atole. But though she tried to eat, it was clear she was not meant for mortal sustenance.
Her storms had ravaged the harvest and left the earth barren. The chief and his family offered her what little they had. She saw their willingness to give, their generosity, even in scarcity, and she would not let that go to waste.
Lifting her hand gently over the humble meal, a light shimmered in the air, and the food multiplied before their eyes, abundant and whole. With baskets now brimming, Teuna and Ishul carried the bounty to the waiting villagers gathered outside. Since the arrival of the woman, Banaket's home had glowed like a beacon, soft and silver, drawing the people like moths to a flame, each one hoping that within that light, their prayers had found an answer.
As everyone ate outside, Banaket sat with her by the hearth and asked the questions that burned in his soul as the firelight danced in her eyes.
"Are you a goddess?" Banaket whispered. She shook her head, softly. "No," she said, her voice like the gentle breeze that rustles leaves. "The heavens are not only the realm of the gods. I am something for which your tongue holds no word." "Do you dwell in the heavens?" Banaket asked. A smile, subtle and knowing, traced her lips. "I dwell in the light," she answered. "But know this, there is no light without the presence of shadow." "What is your name?" Banaket ventured, his voice hushed with reverence. She turned to him, her gaze flashing like storm-born lightning. "My kind have no need for names. We do not speak as you do." "Then what shall I call you?" Banaket asked, looking at his hands, uncertain. She studied him for a long moment, as if listening to a song only she could hear. "Tell me," she said at last, "did you choose your own name? Did Teuna or Ishul choose theirs?" "I cannot name myself. You must do that. It is the gift and burden of your kind."
Banaket came to understand that he could question her for a lifetime and still never touch the truth that he sought. It was not that she withheld answers, but that his mind lacked the wisdom to shape the right questions. In her presence, language itself felt fragile, like a net cast into a sea too deep to fathom. She belonged to a realm where meaning drifted beneath the surface of words, where understanding moved with the silent gravity of stars, far beyond the reach of human speech.
By morning, Banaket said, "You may stay as long as you wish. My home is yours. My people would love to meet you." Teuna offered clothes, freshly woven, just for her. The village, roused by the hush of wonder, stood in awed stillness as she emerged from the chief's home. Towering above them all, radiant as the full moon in a cloudless sky, she moved with otherworldly grace and ethereal beauty beyond the reach of mortal words. And then she walked into the flooded, blackened fields, raising her majestic hands as the water spiraled into the heavens and receded into the ground. Suddenly, the crops rose, green and gold and full once more. From that morning on, the people revered her. They named her Komisawal, the flying jaguar. For though she walked like a woman, she moved like a whisper of wind, vanishing from one village only to appear in another days away. She traveled through throughout the Linka lands, through mountains and forests, across rivers and plains, restoring harvests, resolving feuds, guiding the hands of healers and the hearts of warriors.
To some, she was a spirit woman, a divine messenger. To others, she was a sorceress, wrapped in white lightning. She never confirmed, never denied.
Wherever she went, unity followed. Villages once divided by blood and suspicion began to trade, to marry, to fight, side by side. She taught them to speak as one. She was seen leading warriors into battle, her arms crackling with unseen power. Her voice alone could halt a war. Under her presence, the land bloomed. Peace endured. Crops thrived. The Linka were strong. But peace is never forever. One day, after many seasons of harmony, the skies darkened again. Thunder groaned across the valleys. Lightning lit the sky. The rains returned, heavier than before. Amid the storms, Komisawal returned to Banakit. She said, gently, "It is time."
Banakit tried to plead with her, but she only smiled, and he knew. Together, they walked to the mountain peak, one last time.
As wind circled them like dancers on the mountaintop, he asked her, "Will we ever see you again? The people love you, and we need you." She looked upon him with eons of knowing, and then returned his jaguar cloak. She watched him reclaim it, becoming the man she first met. With tenderness, she placed her hand on his heart. "Just because you do not see me does not mean I am not here." And with one final bolt of lightning, she vanished, lifted into the sky like fire returning to its source. The storm ended that very moment. The sun shined bright and clean. And though centuries passed, though strangers came with steel and crosses, temples fell, and the sacred names faded from the tongue, the Linka never forgot. They told their children, lightning is not to be feared, but followed. When the storms come, when the sky cracks and the rains beat the earth, it is not a curse. It is a promise. It means that Komisawal walks among us once more, and peace will come again.
I grew up Christian, but as a professor, I study all belief systems with respect. I try to understand what connects them. For the Lenca people, Komisawal was a savior, just as Christ was for the Spanish. Two very different figures, centuries apart, but cut from the same cloth. Today, the Spanish and the Linka share descendants who share a country named after one of those saviors. That's the connection I see. Komisawal is el Espíritu de la Montaña, the spirit of the mountain. The mountain is Conchagua, and it's not really a mountain. It's a volcano that I very much hope stays dormant. This beautiful land, it's her land. It is said that before you set foot upon her slopes, before you gather, build, or even pass through, you must first ask her blessing. For nothing stirs here without her knowing, and no deed endures here without her grace. Lady of the mountain, what you are is beyond my understanding. But I come to you with great reverence. Please bless El Salvador. And if you see fit, I would be honored if you would bless my journey. So I don't know how much the video is going to pick this up, but when you're up here, it's just you and the Gulf of Fonseca. There's no barrier. There's no wall. If you fall over, you're tumbling all the way down to the water.
Upon returning down the mountain, my car was still there, which is the only reason why this video exists. I happily gave the kind lady $10 for driveway parking. Stay curious, be inspired, find freedom, wander elsewhere. I will see you in the next one.